Hello students, we are meeting in for the next lecture of parameters of instrumental analysis. Under that, in the last lecture, we have started this chapter where discussed the some terms, techniques, methods, procedure, and protocols. Then we have discussed total analysis techniques and concentration techniques. Then we were discussing the method for selecting an analytical method, selection of a analytical method, and for that selection you have to check the 9 criteria. Under that 9 criteria we discuss accuracy and precision. Now we'll see the next criteria, that is sensitivity. What is the meaning of sensitivity? Sensitivity is the ability of a method to distinguish between two samples having different amount of analytes. For example, you are measuring, suppose you are performing, suppose, a colorimetric estimation. In one sample there is 1 milligram analyte is present, and for that whatever reading will come. Okay, if you change the sample in which another if there is another sample where you have 1.0001 milligram rise, sorry, uh, for earlier sample is 1 milligram. If next sample contains on 1 microgram change, okay, means 1.001 milligram substance. So with this small amount of change in the analyte, whether there is a change in the signal or not, especially in colorimetric estimation you measure the absorbance, is there any change? If it shows change with small amount of analyte, then your method is very sensitive. So depending for how much small change in the analyte, whether your method is giving signal or not. So it is defined as the change in the signal per unit change in the amount of analyte. It is equivalent to the K, which is called as proportionality constant. So here sensitivity is given as change in the signal, which is delta SA, with change in the amount of analyte is delta Na. Same sensitivity can be defined in terms of for the total concentration method, that is delta Ca is equal to delta Sa upon K. So in both the method, K is a proportionality constant. So if delta Sa is the smallest increment in the signal that can be measured, then smallest difference in the amount of the analyte can be detected, is given by these two equations. Okay, so that is the sensitivity, means how much small change can be detected by your method, that is called as sensitivity. So if it can measure smallest change, then it is called as a more and more sensitive. The next is selectivity. Selectivity is different from sensitivity. Selectivity is very important. For example, as I told in the last lecture, suppose you are given the alloy of 2 3 metals, say iron, copper, zinc, and chromium. Okay, now in this you have to choose such a method where, and if you want to, suppose in this alloy, if you want to find out how much quantity of iron is present in presence of copper, zinc, and chromium, so your method should be very selective, that will give signal only for iron, whereas there will not be any signal for copper, zinc, or chromium. So samples usually contain many different constituents other than your analyte. Okay, and these other constituents, they are responsible for the causing the nuisance. Here nuisance is called as interference. Means suppose if your method is applicable not only for iron but for copper also, then the measured values or the signals will be containing signals from for the iron as well as copper. So that is called as an interference. Means if your method is applicable for desired analyte as well as your interfering material. So if the constituent present in the sample other than analyte also contribute to the analytical signal, they are referred to as interferents. Okay, so in the presence of interferent, the above equations, means these two equations can be modified to include signal contribution from the interferent Si. Here I refers to interferent, means Sa is the signal of analyte plus Si is the signal due to interferent. Means for example, if you are trying to note down the reading for iron, it will be the total reading will be due to iron as well as interfering metal, for example copper. So copper becomes I, that is interferent, and iron becomes analyte, that is Sa. So total signal which you will get or measurement you will get, that is a Sa plus Si, which can be written as K plus Na, K into Na plus Ki plus Ki into Ni. Same equation can be written for the concentration method also, where S sample is the total signal due to constituents of sample, that is A analyte and I interferent. Means total signal is due to your iron as well as copper. Okay. So here the selectivity of the method for interferent relative to the analyte is defined as the selectivity coefficient Kai. So here selectivity can be defined as Kai is equal to K1 upon Ka. What is K1? K1 is the proportionality constant of the signal between interferent and amount of interferent, whereas K is the proportionality constant for the signal between analyte and its amount of analyte. So here K1 Ki upon Ka, Ki is the proportionality constant for interferent, whereas Ka is the proportionality constant for analyte. So here what happens when Ki upon Ka, that is this Kai, if this Kai value is more than 1, it indicates that Ki is more than Ka, then this method is not selective, because a signal of interferent interfering constituent is measurable, so your analysis will go wrong. But if the value is less than 1, it indicates that denominator Ka is more than Ki. Okay, so in that case, less the value of this ratio, more is the selectivity. And sometimes this interfering constituent not only enhances the signal, sometimes it declines the signal. Therefore interference due to this Ki may lead to deviate in the negative side as well as positive side. Okay, so therefore this ratio, the value of this ratio Ki upon Ka can be negative as well as positive. We are not interested in the sign, because that gives the direction, its direction of its interference. We are interested in the amount of interference. So if the value is from -1 to +1, then selectivity is very good. If it goes beyond +1 or -1, means above +1 or below -1, then the method is not selective, that is not useful. You can rearrange this equation as Ki is equal to Kai into Ka, and you can replace this value of Ki in above these two equations, and you will get S sample is equal to Ka into bracket Na plus Kai into Ni. Similarly, same equation can be written for concentration method. So here the selectivity coefficient is easy to calculate if Ka and Ki can be independently determined. So signal for sample can be measured in presence or absence of known amounts of analyte and interferent, and can be used to calculate KAI value. So selectivity, in short, I can say that this Ki upon Ka, this value is very important. If it is in fraction, method is very much selective. If the value is more than 1, then whether it is positive or negative, that doesn't matter. But the Ki upon Ka value is more than 1, then method is not selective. Okay, so that is one thing we should take into account. The next point to be, or criteria to be considered for the selectivity selection of the analytical method, is robustness or ruggedness. What is robustness? A method can be said to be highly useful if it provides reliable results. Okay, so most of the methods are affected by the presence of various chemical and physical interferences that might contribute uncertainty or error in the analysis. This is the major issue when you perform any analytical experiment. When a method is found to be relatively free from chemical interferences, it can be applied to the determination of analytes in a wide variety of sample matrices. For example, I have given you an example. If you want to find out, say, amount of a particular heavy metal in the soil, in the water, in the organic waste material, wherever, if the method is very good method, very selective method, then it can be applied in the water as well as soil, or as well as in any matrix. Okay, so if the method is not necessary to change, though if you change the matrices, then that method is a robust method. Okay, so that is the robustness of method. Robust method can be applied for the analysis of analyte in wide variety of matrices. Okay, that you have to take into consideration. And what is ruggedness? Slight variation in the experimental condition like pH, reaction time, can cause the error and introduce uncertainty in the result. A method is insensitive to the experimental changes is called as rugged method. Okay, so if the signal or observations, if they are not affected by change in the experimental condition, then that method is rugged method. Where if you change the matrices, still method is useful, then it is called as a robust method. Next very important point is scale of operation. Scale of operation means here in the analyte how much quantity of analyte is present, whether it is in milligram, gram, kilogram, microgram, nanogram. What is that? Depending on the amount of the analyte, your scale that is called as a, if you, depending on the scale of operation, your method will change. So here scale of operation depends on three things. Amount of sample available in for the analysis, means for example, if you are taking soil sample, you can take as much as sample you want. Okay, but if you want to find out the percent of heavy metal in any archaeological sample, I think all of you know archaeology. Okay, in that they take the historical samples from historical places which has very strong historical value. In that case, your sample may be very small. Okay, you may not have required amount of sample for the analysis, then it is become very difficult job. Then second is concentration of analyte present in the sample, means for example, I will give you example of, say, Ashok Stambha of our India. Okay, King Ashoka has made this Ashok Stambha, which is made up of different alloy. Okay, and still over the years or thousands of years, it is not get rusted. So that is a very miracle kind of thing. So people were thinking why it is not getting rusted. If we know the composition of Ashok Stamba material, then we can use the same composition for making different objects, so that rusting of object will be avoided. So to analyze that, you cannot break Ashok Stamba, because Ashok Stamba has very historical as well as cultural or archaeological value. So you can take very small amount, okay, and in that small amount of sample, how much quantity of analyte is present, that is also very important. So concentration of analyte present in the sample is also a major issue. Then absolute amount of analyte needed to obtain a measurable signal, that is also very important, you can say important issue. Because if your analyte is present in microgram, then you have to use very sensitive method, okay. So if the amount of analyte is very much sufficiently it is present, then no issue. But if it is in small, then it becomes a very tedious thing. So your sample can be classified on the basis of their size as like this. You can have, if you have sample size more than 0.1 gram, then it is macro. 10 milligram to 100 milligram meso. Then 0.1 milligram to 10 milligram is micro, and less than 0.1 milligram is ultra micro. Whereas classification of analyte based on their weight percent in the sample, means first table gives you analysis, classification of analysis based on the sample size. Next table will give you how depending on how much percent of analyte present in the sample, depending on that you have different classes of analyte. Measure is more than 1%, minor is 0.01 to 1.1, trace 10 raised to minus 7 to 0.01, ultra trace less than 10 raised to minus 7. So weight percent formula is given, so that is very important. If you go further, if you see this graph, it is very important. From this figure it can be seen that diagonal lines connecting the two axes, x axis and y axis. X axis gives you it is a plot of sample size on x and analyte concentration on y. Means on x axis sample size is there, but in that sample how much analyte is present, that give that in percentage is plotted on y axis. So from this graph you can see there are diagonal lines connecting to two axes, show that combination of the sample size and analyte concentration containing the same absolute amount of analyte. Okay, so thus 1 gram sample containing 1% analyte has the same amount of analyte as the 100 milligram sample containing 10% of analyte. Means actually the proportionally it is same. Okay, so in total analysis method, the signal is proportional to absolute amount of analyte in the sample. The diagonal lines in this figure gives an easy way to explain the limitations of total analysis method. If we consider total analysis method which requires say 100 milligram of analyte, the diagonal lines in the figure reveals that the method is best suited for macro samples and major analytes. So you have to consider these diagonal lines. Concentration analysis methods have both lower and upper limit for amount of analyte that can be determined. The lower limit is decided by the lowest concentration of analyte that can give you useful signal, and usually in the parts per million, okay, or parts per billion. Upper concentration limit are also important when the sensitivity decreases with increase in concentration. Means here for a concentration analysis technique, you have upper limit as well as lower limit. For example, under concentration technique, you can consider colorimetry method. Okay, so colorimetric method is based on Beer-Lambert's law technique. Okay, and Beer-Lambert's law has limitation at the upper level as well as lower level. So you have to be within that range only. Okay, so that depending on that you can choose the method. So if the method requires sample of 1 ml, then upper limit on the amount of analyte can be handled is 1 microgram. From the figure one can see that 1 microgram of analyte following the diagonal line, a sample size of 10 microgram would be required. If same analysis is to be carried out for major analytes, the ability to work with small sample is required, or one has to dilute the original sample. Okay, hence concentration methods are used commonly for minor trace and ultra trace. See, because of this limitation, concentration methods are mostly used for micro trace or ultra trace or minor methods. You cannot use concentration method for major because of limitations of Beer-Lambert's law. That is one example I have given. So scale of operation is very important criteria to be considered while the selection of proper analytical method. That is very important. The next criteria, they are very simple, we can discuss in short. It is analysis type. Okay, analytical methods can be compared on the basis of requirement and availability of equipment, total time required, or cost involved in the analysis. Method which depends on instrument or equipment intensive or require skilled operators. For example, handling of graphite furnace, atomic absorption spectroscopic method for lead determination in water requires a lot of capital investment and experienced operator to obtain reliable results. However, other methods like titration require simple glassware and chemical reagent and can be mastered very easily. So the time required to complete the analysis of sample depends on the method employed and is an important factor while selecting the method when large number of samples need to be analyzed. Means analysis time is very important. If you are for one sample, if it is going to take say an hour, then if you have hundreds of samples, then it becomes very tedious. Then you have to go for the method which will give you a result within 1 minute or within some second. Okay, second thing is availability of equipment. There are many spectroscopic methods where you need different very costly instrument. For example, NMR is very costly instrument where you perform the qualitative analysis, especially for organic structure determination, or sometimes in material science you require single electron microscope or tunnel electron microscope. They are very costly instrument. So availability of equipment is very important, and because of the costly nature of the equipments or the chemicals required for analysis, that is very important. So while selecting the analytical method, you have to consider these three parameters also depending on your requirement. So these are very important thing that you have to consider. And making the final choice is last decision making criteria. The criteria discussed up till now for selecting the suitable method are all interdependent. Okay, they are not independent, they are usually when very small amount of samples are selected for analysis or an attempt is made to improve selectivity of the precision is lost. Okay, sometimes precision is lost, sometimes selectivity is very important, sometimes sensitivity is the issue. So considering all these criteria, most important criteria must be considered while selecting the method is accuracy. Most important criteria is accuracy. First of all, you should get the accurate result. If you are not getting any accurate result and then at the cost of accuracy. If your selectivity is more, if your sensitivity is very high, or your cost is low, that is not useful, because at the end of the all this job, or at the end of the day, you should get the correct result, then the method will be useful. So analysis time is sometimes very important. Okay, especially nowadays we are facing, we are going through a very pandemic situation, all of you know. If RT-PCR test, if it is going to take say a day for one sample, then you can imagine there are thousands of people, they are getting affected. How one can perform the analysis? So in that case, analysis time is very important for selection of analytical method. So these are the sometimes scale of operation, whether the sample is present in trace amount. For example, if you want to find out the amount of pesticide that get in dissolved in water when it is sprayed in the farming field, so that amount is in traces. So for that you need to have a proper choice of method. So this criteria, importance of each criteria depends on the purpose of your analysis. So first you consider the purpose of analysis, second thing, don't compromise with the accuracy, then go for the rest of the criteria. But accuracy and purpose of analysis should not be compromised. So these are the criteria that you have to consider. So for today's lecture we'll stop here. We'll meet for the next lecture very soon.